Testing, testing, testing. Good evening. This is your friendly neighborhood storyteller, Nobody. And this is the inaugural voyage of our new chronicle, The Dark of Bethany. Tonight's episode, again, the inaugural, the first in the season, is called A Flying. So once again, I'm Nobody, the storyteller, your favorite friend, number one fan, and the narrator of The Dark of Bethany, Episode 1, A Flying. Hey, how we doing?
I'm doing alright. How's it going?
Not bad at all. It's good to see you. Didn't keep you waiting too long, did I?
No, not at all. I've only been here about a minute and I'm watching TV.
Excellent. Welcome. How we doing?
I'm pretty good. Throat's a little sore. I think I'm coming down with something, hopefully. Not, but...
Yeah, 'tis the season, unfortunately. Welcome, Bo. How we doing?
Another day at the office in the books, you know.
You work in the office now?
Well, it is an office because it's an office, but do I leave my four walls? No, never. I don't have to drag that carcass out of these four walls.
You like being drugged, but you know, we gotta keep it PG.
Only in certain situations, thank you very much.
Again, I understand. No king shaming, just letting you know we gotta keep it PG. We are on the public airwaves. And for the record, Neon, this is Bo. He's one of the players of our usual troupe. He will not be playing in Bethany, but an active ear, an active captive studio audience is always a good thing.
Nice to meet you.
You already know.
I'm Velvet.
Diva, India. We have missives out, and we are hopeful of their response, but I'm not sure that will actually what will come of it. Looking at the RSVP, I noticed a lack of things, a lack of yays or nays. So without belaboring the point too very much, if we are all amenable, I am raring and ready to begin. But before doing so, I'm going once, going twice, going as many times as necessary. Are there any questions, concerns, hypotheses, or just simply corners we'd like to round off? Alright, good old-fashioned camaraderie silence in preparation of the many, hopefully, enjoyable events that we will have in front of us. So for the record, and without any shadow of a doubt, this is the start, the beginning of The Dark of Bethany, Season 1, Episode 1. Entitled A Flying. Tonight's troupe will be played by Diva Shah on Discord, who will be playing... Exactly who will you be playing, Diva?
Tonight I am India Love, a princess cowgirl sort, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, excellent. And lastly but not leastly, in this grand epic beginning of The Dark of Bethany, we have Neon Pixie Sticks on Discord, who will be playing
Lita Cambridge. She is spooky.
This is a good thing. Well, then you've come to the right place. While we are just leaving Halloween season, the horrors in the world of darkness are a consistent, constant weight. They're like the weighted blanket of our real world, ever present and familiar enough to lull one into a false sense of security and safety. The horror of the everyday and the sheer unbridled monstrousness of man's inhumanity to man is the one constant. Everyone knows that there are only two things eternal: death and taxes. That's not the case for the denizens of this shadowy world in which vampires exist, werewolves howl, and many other magical, mystical, and supernatural things abound in the dark. We close our eyes and open our minds to the idea of swooping across a verdant plain, the midwestern states of these United States. We swoop and soar south along the great Mississippi River. And just before we find ourselves in the Gulf of Mexico, we move due west across the state of Louisiana. And just as we break the border between Louisiana and Texas, there resides a domain built around a city, the domain of Bethany, Louisiana, which straddles the border between all things Louisianan and all things Texan. It is a melding pot of foreign influences. The domain and the city, the town, I blink and you'll miss it, less than one horse town, was begun with a church. A church that still resides to this day. A church which is the centerpiece of every aspect of the marketing of the area. Bethany sits not only on the border between Louisiana and Texas, but Bethany inhabits its main street is the primary route moving from Carthage, or the capital of East Texas, into Shreveport, which is the capital of the region, both for the mortals that abound and exist during the daylight hours, as well as those things that bump back against one another during the dark. Shreveport is the center of the universe for East Texas, South Arkansas, and Northwest Louisiana. It controls the commerce, the ebb and flow, and the politics of these three states and these three counties. All of the humans and kindred in the area, when they say that they are going to town, are pointing towards Shreveport. It is the capital of the region. It is the center of power. It is all things important to all persons. Entertainment, education, the opportunity to do more than exist, to experience what nightlife may actually be like. Is it as vibrant and kaleidoscopic as you've seen on movies and TV shows? And is crime? Yes, all of those things and more. And like any verdant Camelot, like any capital, it needs its watchtowers. It needs men on parapets keeping the infidels, the barbarians, the angry hordes from being able to simply ransack and pillage. And one of those towers, one of those watchtowers, one of those men along the parapet is Bethany itself. And this is where we will be beginning. And in the nick of time, with all due haste, we have noble wayfarer who tonight will be playing Discord did you a little dirty there. It cut off the first portion.
Of course it did. Matty Woodburn.
Another resident of our lovely Bethany. As a watchtower city, as a watchtower place, a pinprick along the highway, a blinking you'll miss it existence, Bethany is wary towards strangers and outsiders, as well as insiders. It's the gateway to Shreveport. And before we get down to what, how, we're going to dive into the small evening existence of these particular kindred. Starting in anti-alphabetical order, as the sun sets and your cold, lifeless body resurrects once more, what, if anything, are your evening oblations, Maddie?
Probably not terribly difficult from when she was still alive. Get up, get ready, toss her hair back in a ponytail, check messages, see if the new any orders come in. Just go about her day, seeing if she has been summoned for some bullshit that she hates.
As is always the case, ask and you shall receive. Because the very first message, the very first annoying chime of the answering machine is from none other than Kaylee Temperance, the right-hand woman for Liam Rodriguez, the scourge of the area, second only to Regent Wolford. And Kaylee in her annoying fall Californian accent. So, I know it's only a few minutes until sunrise, so you'll probably get this tomorrow, but well, you know the scoop, you know what to do, you know where to be. Liam is in a mood as always, so yeah, see you there. And just as you can hear the fumbling of the receiver as she gets ready to hang up. Oh, yeah. Hey, my cabinet that you built to hide my little sleeping the spring, and then the line goes dead.
Her eye roll is audible.
It is without a doubt that you, as per usual, are unfortunately put upon. It is without a shadow of a doubt, unfortunately, far too often where your services of body are used at someone else's agency. The fact that the scourge Rodriguez could not deign the time or effort to reach out directly is another sign of that. It's not a red flag, it is a huge cape that is draped across the table of your life, bright and scarlet and leaking. And as per usual, when Rodriguez calls, you know what that means. That you will be leaving your family property, you will be leaving your homestead, not to make your nightly bread, but to head into downtown Bethany to the Thriftway, where Rodriguez has his own semblance of a chantry built into the back of the huge building there just off of 79 and State Line Road. It's always a hassle because 79 from the peak oil field just southwest of town all the way until Buncombe Road is a speedway. It is, everyone hustles as if they have everywhere to be at once. And it's often the primary location where Panola County and the parish generate a vast amount of income. So there'll be the usual parked car for Panola County sitting somewhere on the side of the Methodist Church next to the Family Dollar, and then you'll see the Caddo Parish sheriffs just on the other side of State Line Road by the Old Time Store, or just across from Lick Skillet, waiting for that inevitably speeding tourist or local. And as you prepare, loading up the truck with whatever you think you might need, we slide anti-alphabetically north to Lita. Rising for the evening, the sun dropping just below the horizon line. What, if anything, are your evening ablations?
Well, I think I'd probably start with trying to get my blush of life going. Trying to get as much passability as I can going, just because it's so hard for me. And then on top of that, I'm probably dressed in like Nick Cobb or something really totally covering. But still letting me blend in a little bit. Like I'm trying to pull off Muslim dress in small town. So my life is probably going to be awesome tonight. And I'm going to try to arrange a deal to buy some blood bags.
So you're going to attempt to make connection or dial up someone involved in the side hustlers market. It's the local resource for all things less than above board. The idea of purchasing, obtaining, stealing, or otherwise engaging in gaining some sustenance is a difficult thing this far south of Shreveport, this far in the middle of nowhere. Most of the medical resources are heavily scrutinized and heavily maintained, because it is such a relatively long 30 minutes to get into the nearest portion of the city. It is such a long 30 minutes to get into any portion of either Carthage or Shreveport. People go missing all the time. And yet, blood typically doesn't. Would you be so kind as to, first and foremost, would you go ahead and roll for your Blush of Life, which is using the Fate Casting Lots channel just north of us, right there, and use either In Canoe or Realm of Darkness and roll 1d10. You can also use the /Awaken or /Rouse if you're going to use In Canoe, and it'll give you your outcome.
All right. Success.
And what that means is that the dictates of the beast make no immediate demand on you. It doesn't, unlike its usual, come roaring into life by kicking open all of your mental doors demanding to be fed. It doesn't seize you up by the throat and drag you along to dance to its tune and feeding itself and satiating itself in a pool of blood. Instead, it's just a tickle at the back of the mind, your ever-present susurrous whisper of feed me, satiate me, serve me. Constantly there just beneath the surface of every facet of your potential immortality. And so as you don your hijab, covering your bright red hair, what do you do about your face? Because as you polish off the full-length sleeves and dress covering all of your very emaciated, gray, dead skin, there is still the unsightly aspect of your face. It's taken weeks to get accustomed to it. While your skull isn't poking through the very thin skin on your face, it might as well. Your cheekbones are more pronounced. There's the sallow divot in your cheek where your skull and your jaw hinge. There's the slightly pointed aspect of your chin, which is far bonier than it once was. Never a heavy woman, never extraordinarily muscular. It is all the more obvious that even blushed, even tapping into the strength of the beast, that you are in fact a dead thing.
Well, there's nothing for it but to put on a mask. So, I put on a mask that happens to look like a skull face.
Excellent. And as you finish donning and making your preparations to head out into the night, you're not exactly sure where you're intending to head. But getting out of the cloister that has become your life is a song that just won't stop playing. And speaking of songs and resurrecting for the evening and preparations and oblations, India, the sun is set and once more you have been returned to a semblance of life. What, if any, are your evening oblations?
Definitely first thing on waking, she would wash up because old habits die hard. Dressing for the evening in a denim short sleeve button up and a pair of jeans, putting on her belt buckle, getting ready. Grabbing her knapsack to put on the horse because she's going to go down and brush and care for her horse before she does anything else. However much time that would take, she's not super worried about going any one place or not. She does have a landline in this renovated barn studio. And it's just by design that the people in the house have forgotten that there is a such thing as a landline. Everybody's using cell phones now, so she usually has the landline to herself, and she'd check her messages.
You move through the renovated barn space towards grabbing your knapsack and your very professional brush to brush out your horse's mane and their coat, and we pause considering moving back through the barn towards the landline. And sure enough, that annoying, slightly sweet tobacco scent hits your nose. It's a familiar stench. It's one that, without a shadow of a doubt, has become part and parcel of your new existence, of what home is. And sure enough, there is Jim mucking a stall in the barn. Most of the rats and mice that abound have taken to avoiding the space since you've moved in. most of the casual wildlife, including the barn cats and several raccoons and coyotes that hung out in the area, have immediately started giving the place a wide berth. Their sense of self-preservation being penultimate. Yet, without a shadow of a doubt, here's Jim, with his head literally in the lion's mouth without paying any attention whatsoever, busily working, mucking the stall. Based on what you see lying against a door here and stacked in the pallet over there, he's been working this entire time while you've been upstairs dead. And as per his way, he pauses, stretches his back, and Oi, Miss Love, that you? And turns to find you there, brush in hand, knapsack in hand, pondering, moving towards the landline, which is roughly about 10 feet past where he is, mucking the stall.
I thought we talked about this, Jim.
No, you talk, I listen, but it's not going to do itself.
Too hard.
Sheila says these need mucking, so I muck, and then I'm going to go downtown. You got like 4 messages. Some stupid guy, the store owner.
Oh shit! I'll go listen to him.
Oh, no worry, I deleted them for you. I know you don't like talking on phone.
Oh shit! See, I guess I know where I'm going tonight. Could you make sure Sarah gets extra oats? She's been a pretty good girl lately.
She is. She's a very good girl. I don't know why she's so mean lately.
Me?
Yeah, she bit Benito.
I'll have to check that out. Maybe she's got a stone in her hooves or something. But
she looks fine. I think maybe he's been too nice. He's been giving her too much sugar cubes. Just like your brother, think he can buy friends.
Hey now, you know we don't speak ill of dead.
No, ill is the truth. He thought he could buy friends. That's the reason why your pa's dog bit him twice. Or is it 3 times? I forget.
That dog.
Maybe so, but good guard dog.
Yeah.
You don't make friends with a monster by being nice.
She just kind of goes silent for a minute and looks at him, but just kind of processing that sentence because she's already aware of what she is. He doesn't know, but she knows. So she just kind of goes quiet for a minute. Indeed. But, you said you're going into town.
Yeah. The Hutchinsons.
You leaving anytime soon?
No, I have this stall and then the far paddock I have got to finish, and then I'm gonna go deal with the Hutchinsons. They have I know you don't like to party with anyone, but they're having a bonfire, and the beer's free. Is they've got Q going as well, I heard.
Well, you go have a good time. I gotta go find out what this guy wants. I'll probably be taking my truck.
Okay, I'll tell Sheila.
Don't worry her.
Okay, you say so.
She turns and still holding on to her knapsack, but then puts the brush down because she knows she's not going to have time to brush out her baby before she goes. And gets in the truck and starts heading to where she knows she needs to be.
Sad though it is, the truth of the matter is that as small and out of the way as Bethany is, it is a major source of income for both Panola County and Caddo Parish in regards to easily low investment traffic issues. 79 literally is the main street. It is center of the town. It's the center of the domain, and it crosses the state line road perfectly here so that most people don't pay too much attention. The stoplight, the red light there at the center of town comes at the most inopportune moment because it's a straightaway in both directions for easily 7.5, 8 miles. It is a natural inclination on such roads, both the state line and 79, to apply a little speed, to apply a little recklessness, to enjoy the feel of the road and get where you're getting as quickly as possible. And it never fails. There's always traffic when you move down State Line Road and when you move east or west across 79. There is always far too many people doing their absolute best to get to various places as quickly as possible. And as many locals have fallen prey to both of the parish and county police officers, the sheriff's department, it is a force of habit for most to just floor it. It's a force of habit for most to do their best to drive their foot through the floorboard in this area. For those of us who are driving in the area, do you all take any special precautions when moving down State Line Road or moving across 79 to get to the Thriftway, where the Scourge himself is, well, usually in attendance?
Be as law-abiding as possible. No loud music. Keeping to the speed limit.
Maddie, Lita?
Perhaps some loud music, but that's about it.
I've got a sports car. I might rev it a little bit at some lights, but probably not more than that.
The sad truth is both Caddo and Panola usually do everything they can to not really bother any of the local cars they recognize, because they know that the average citizen in the area, from Wascom down to Carthage and from Bethany all the way into Shreveport, really don't have the funds necessary for a useless, well-meaning, well-intended extortion scheme that is highway patrol. They know this. It doesn't stop them from being pettily after certain members of the community, predominantly the Hutchinsons, but there are several other families that have lived in the area for the last 3 generations or more that get targeted as well. So as you all, roughly near and around the same time, find yourself moving across 79, you see the Panola County Sheriff's Department, both of those, the long-haired fellow that no one bothers to learn his name except for Lita, and his boss, the white shirt, who actually still goes out on patrol. They pulled over one of the younger Hutchins, the boy that was on the football and track team that managed to get to state and, well, piss his life away after one fight or another. They have him pulled over and are rifling through his vehicle as per usual. Empty bottles and cans falling out as they rummage and dig, knowing what they'll find, because this is a every other week occurrence. Some folks can't learn. Some folks have a habitual need to break every social norm and every taboo, and as per usual, there's usually one of the Hutchinsons involved. Arriving at the thriftway roughly around the same time, you all each get a chance to see Monroe County's idea of swift and polite justice, as the Hutchinson kid is roughed up a little, his car is tossed, most of his belongings, the spare blankets, the water bottles, the beer, the unopened whiskey bottle, and several other embarrassing items are just pulled out and tossed onto the side of the road. Cars slow and rubberneck as once again another Hutchinson is in trouble with the law. Most places, the thriftway would be a place of last refuge. Penny pinchers and those without the funds to do better or to find better. Those who find thrifting and searching for used, gently discarded items treasured. But not in Bethany. Bethany, the thriftway is akin to Macy's. There are all manner of treasures, from textiles to tossed off banquets, buffets, and all manner of things that have been passed down for generations, things that you can't find anymore, but are considerably less than antique. Things that have been well loved for and cared after, smelling deeply of Murphy's oil or pine sol. And as per usual, the counter is being run by several easy on the eye ladies of various shades and hues. And as per usual, queen bee of them all is Kaylee. And she's busily barking orders politely in that fall California accent. Oh my goodness, oh yeah, and so forth and so on, putting on airs. Most people think that she's vacuous and empty-headed. They wouldn't be wrong, but they'd also be underestimating the exact nature of her skills. Who gets there roughly on time or as expected, and who tries to get there late?
I got horses to get back to, so I'm going to try to get this over and done with as soon as possible, even though I know it's about to be some bullshit.
Maddie would probably be as close to on time as possible without being late, but just barely making it. Little acts of defiance and whatnot.
Probably show up fashionably late.
So, arriving fairly close to one another, India and Maddie, you guys are pulling in roughly about the same time, give or take a few seconds here or there, having come from two relatively disparate sides of town. The property, the Love Ranch, being by far considerably closer, gives you a small leg up in terms of time. As you all make your way in, is there anything that you all might be discussing?
Hey, long time no see.
Hey, how you doing?
Preparing for whatever this is about to be.
Ah, yeah. About to be some bullshit, I bet.
You know, that drawer that you built for me, that chest of drawers,
Yeah, what up?
it's working perfect, mind you. I just had to put a little beeswax on the track, and it's gliding good again. But I am enjoying it so much. Thank you.
I am glad to hear.
Oh my God! Isn't it like funny that you guys are like here? I thought sure, and just for a second, the real her peeks out. That flash of instinctual enmity, that want of your blood, that want of divesting you of something, not because it would profit her anything, but simply the act of taking. Like, Liam wants to see you guys, you know, the way back. We're waiting on a couple of others. Y'all got anything y'all need? I know y'all can't afford anything, but you know, like, hi.
I'm sure India's face is doing that, like, eyebrow up girl who you playing with sort of look, just like watching her. But she realizes that it would be problems if she really got into it with this one, so she's just gonna keep her tongue and step around her.
Oh my God, you smell so nice today. What is that, Irish Spring? It's nice to know that you guys wash. And as you all move through the space towards the huge door, it was at one point a security door for some facility out there in the dark. The Panola County area as a whole is filled with gas planes and derricks and the natural gas fields. They have their own watchtowers and service areas, and it's just a mess of lost facilities out there. Some of them, of course, crossing the border into Caddo Parish, but the few that were still in operation in the Caddo Parish area are considerably better maintained. They're still active, and people are still using the vast majority of them because of its proximity to Shreveport, and because of its proximity and the pipelines that run from there down to New Orleans. It is in a constant state of needing repairs and updating. But those in the Panola County area, there are several that are lost because the maps to them and the paths to them have been obstructed over the years via the storms, the settling of the area, the rising of the waters, and things just get lost. And it's clear that this door, before all of the filigree was applied and carved into the iron, was one of those such places. Being a Tremere, Maddie, and even being middle of the pack as far as practicing all of the esoteric bullshit that they try to jam down your throat, part of the brainwashing of understanding the pyramid and how to get ahead and this, that, and the other. This door is warded several times over, several hundreds of times over. What the warding is actually for is anyone's guess. You've never seen or anyone have a problem entering or exiting the space, especially when no one comes here without an invitation. But even in all those times of being invited, you've never seen anyone be rebuffed. You've never seen anyone respond with a pained grimace or any of that like. But as you stare at this door, there's always this raising of the hackles looking at it. There are a series of wards that are maintained in this door. Normally they go in the jamb next to it. They go on the wall next to or on the floor beneath. They very rarely ever go actually on the door. Yet this one not only has them, but it has several of them, and they're carved into this wrought iron security door.
Maddie is just gonna stand there and wait for someone to open the door as they usually do.
Speaking of doors opening, you're looking. Go on.
Just looking at it kind of longingly, like someday I will be able to do that.
Indeed, do. And speaking of doors opening, the light tinkle of the bell at the front of the store rings and jangles as entering is Lita. How are you actually dressed? Now we have an idea that you dressed mostly as a fully covered individual wearing your carved or 3D printed mask, but what does it actually look like?
I think it's a high fashion thing. I think it looks like high fashion from the Middle East. It's a lot of flowing lace. Definitely a lot of layers. It's probably open. Showing off her figure a little bit, but not like making a big deal out of it. And yeah, it probably is mostly black.
Mostly black is good.
I'm thinking black with a nice white mask.
The moment that the bell sounds, you all can feel Kaylee's ew. She doesn't say it, but without any shadow of a doubt, her immediate disdain moves through the space as if it's an actual presence, it's an actual person, it's an actual monster, all of its own breathing and life. It is so heavily apparent. She doesn't have to say ew. You know the look on her face as she affects her again. Very, very fake California Valley Girl accent. Kaylee grew up in Wascom. She literally grew up 7 miles from the center of town before she ran away to California and had to come back with her tail between her legs. At least she tells everyone she ran away to California. She tells everyone she went to Hollywood to try to make it big and refused to sleep on some producer's couch. Those in the know, those in your community, in the kindred community, know that that is nowhere near the case. There's no way that she could have risen to the rank that she has within the local chantry structure if she had not slept on some producer's couch. There's no way that with her middling intellect and her bright personality that she could have excelled as high or as fast as she has. It's just an impossibility. She definitely gave and received far more than she would ever mention. and she takes that exchange of her flesh and her mind and her life out on everyone. Oh my God. Hi. Yeah, I'm taking that you're expected to, right?
I believe so.
Well, doesn't really matter what you believe, does it? Welcome in. You know where to go.
I believe so.
And as you make your way through the everyday treasures that is part of the many items on display, the buffets and credenzas and the lazy boys and the racks of clothes that have been passed down for generations and have slowly begun to come back into style. The truth of the matter is, standing in this space, you have raised the property value. Your chemise that you're wearing beneath all of your many layers is easily worth a month of the average salary in the area. The shoes that you ignore the reddish dust kicking up and staining it is another 2 weeks to a month of someone's salary. The slacks which hug your all too waifishly thin hips are simply beyond the price range of anyone in the area. You're not wearing the boots, the jeans, the, Carhartt or Levi's and Wranglers that most others are wearing. You're not even wearing the knockoff halt that Kaylee is wearing. You're wearing actual finery. The thread count on your items alone, just on the gloves that you're wearing, would be a pipe dream for most. We're not going to talk about the jewel-encrusted white plain mask that you're wearing. That's another small fortune for the average person in this area.
It's good to...
And as you move through the space, aware as you are that this is one of the many centers of power in and around Bethany. The Thriftway is built on atop an underground stream or river, though not one that anyone could drink from, or most people couldn't drink from. Most kindred couldn't even waste the time drinking from. The river that runs beneath Bethany, beneath the Thriftway, is a river into the lands of the dead. There's souls upon souls upon souls forming a line of power that pools underneath the Thriftway. And you can feel all of those long departed sorrows of the dead beneath your feet with each step. It's literally like walking into your favorite restaurant and being enlivened by the scent of all of your favorite foods. And they're standing by the door awaiting entrance into the actual center of the Thriftway, into the easily accessible hall of power for the kindred, are Maddie and India. You knew India from grade school. You knew of her from grade school. Your father being the rich city professor who had more money than, well, enough to make people jealous. And you felt that jealousy begin welling up while you were still alive. Every day there was another rumor tossed in your direction. Every day there was another insinuation as to you believing that you were better than everyone. Every day the casual cruelty of the children made sure that, well, here you are, dead and loving it because you are free of all of those petty, childish evils.
Maybe. Just a little. I wave and say hi.
Cynthia nods, and I'm kind of looking them up and down. You don't try to blend in at all, do you?
No.
And then she looks towards Matt. I wish he would hurry up and open the damn door.
One of these things is not like the other.
Normally, at this point of waiting, because you usually always have to wait, Rosa Lee, the actual security and not the assassin of the Scourge, which is the role that Kaylee actually plays. Kaylee, for all of her pretense of being a bodyguard or a watcher, is a cold-blooded killer. She has been responsible for the passing of no small few kindred who screwed up and attempted to make a run on Shreveport. Whether they were actually doing so or just fleeing towards the city is anyone's guess. But at the end of the day, Kaylee is usually the weapon that Rodriguez uses to exterminate. And Rosalie is the shield that many have broken themselves against. So usually it is Rosalie who is opening the door and ushering everyone in, a quick once-over, peering into their soul and weighing which weapons they have on their person without touch. Yet instead of Rosalie being the entryway into space, Jonathan Carter, the right hand to Regent Wolvern, opens the door, his auburn hair falling exactly as he plans it to, looking as if it is in fact unkept and wild and luxurious, but very much a planned and practiced thing. Well, don't that beat all? I ain't gotta waste time let y'all know that y'all are late. So, I ain't gonna do that. But just let you all know, you know, as expected, y'all females types can't get nowhere on time. Where is Joji and Aoki?
Well, darling, they're clearly not here.
Exactly, that's the problem. Y'all lacking men folk in your life. Come on in, hurry up so I can close this door.
And follow after him.
The moment you all step across the threshold, that static electricity that runs along the skin, every time that you visit it, is not in fact in place. That small scent and hint of ozone that permeates this space every other time that you've all visited does not in fact permeate the place. And as he closes the door, you all notice for the first time in forever, a set of keys is used to turn the lock this side of the door. Rosalie never uses a key. She never has to. There's always the scent of ozone in the air and the feeling of static electricity running along your skin. All of those missing starts the very real niggling concerns at the back of your mind, mixing in with that subtle, constant reminder of your individual hungers. There's a small tremulation of, oh shit, what's going on? Maddie knows Mr. Connor intimately. Not biblically, but intimately. Time and time again, at several points along the way, in growing into who she is with this promise of immortality, he has been there as the hurdle she's had to clear. He has excelled at several facets that made him a quickly rising star amongst the local area chantry. He also has several glaring traits that make him odious to most. Yet his quick meteoric rise brought him to the attention of the regent, of Wolvern herself. You're not sure whether he's being kept as a chained tiger or as a lapdog, but either way, he doesn't fail ever to remind people that he is the right hand to the regent. He is by far more important. Never within earshot of Wolvern or Rodriguez, but always whenever there's an opportunity to scratch and adjust himself, he does. Come on now, y'all. Ain't no there's a standing on ceremony. I know how much y'all want to look for a mirror and pretty yourselves up, but some of y'all are beyond help.
India is currently counting to 100 in her head.
Well, I don't know, Johnny boy. A neat ponytail versus some messy hair? Looks like it just rolled out of bed.
Now, I ain't smart as man. Are you trying to say something?
Do I ever?
Not as far as I can tell, but doesn't stop people from flapping their... Mr. Connor. Yeah. Hey, Score Rodriguez, I got, the women folk you asked for. Aoki and, Joji ain't with them. Of course they're not. They were sent along earlier. Ladies, thank you all for being here. Right this way, Regent Warovan will be delivering what we need to speak about. I take it that Mr. Connor has been pleasant enough. Oh, yeah, I'm just showing him in, make sure the door's locked. I believe Regent Wolvern has need of you by her side. Of course. You can show me and I'll let and she already knows. Thank you, Mr. Connor. And once he sidles past Rodriguez adjusts the gloves, the well-worn Eiffel toner leather gloves that he wears every day, every night of every week of the year. He has never exposed his hands to anyone, and rumor has it that it's because he doesn't want to muss his manicure. Ladies, thank you all for arriving as promptly as you have. I am sure that you have quite a few questions. The Regent will impart the bulk of the intelligence, but to prepare you, it is unfortunately that time again. And when he says
Of course it is.
Mm-hmm. Indy, you were saying?
Do we know what time he's talking about?
Yep. Everyone does, and everyone dreads it. It's a time of year where, without a shadow of a doubt and without beating the horse too much beyond its excess, is the time when individual kindred who cannot blend in with society either need to be staked for their own well-being or remain out of sight. Being as Bethany sits on 79, it is along the Bright Shoe Railway. It is the major line that most of the traveling circuses and carnivals use when moving into Shreveport and through Shreveport, south and east to their final destination, which is in the panhandle of Florida for the off-season. Roughly every 4 to 5 months, there's another carnival or another circus that moves through and sets up camp and has visitors from Carthage and Shreveport and Wascom and causes an influx of outsiders to the area. It is a high alert moment for Bethany because in many of those carnivals, in many of those circus, are undesirables. And many of them are a slew of individuals who bring with them the attention of local law enforcement. They are not only a threat to the common good, potentially, but they are a threat to the sanctity of Bethany, the inviolability of Shreveport, and any kindred foolish enough to not cross their T's and dot their I's. And every time 1 or 2 carnivals or circuses move through the area, 5 or 6 local kindred are assigned to check the Broad and Dunn Street of the carnival to get up close and personal and find out who's who and what's what before any trouble can get outside of their own little campground. And all of that being equal, it is very rarely that it's beyond the pale. It is very rarely that it's something that can't be handled. It's very rare that it's not something that can be handed down by Kaylee for any and everyone to do. Yet this time there's Regent involved. This time there is an actual local power handing the marching orders. It's another one of those things that's a gut check in considering that. So, as we are aware that it is unfortunately that time again, are there any questions before we move in to speak with the regents?
What's with the...
My good axes are still in the safe.
Yes, of course they are. And Lita, you were saying?
What's with the wards? They seem less dynamic than usual.
Subtlety is usually not our strong suit, and that's a good question entirely. Unfortunately, that is a bit beyond your pay grade. I will allow you this, being as you've been deductive enough to realize that difference. The energy that runs through Bethany can, unfortunately, like all sources of energy, be damned, can be stoppered, can be drawn away by those who are aware. Wards here are to ensure that that doesn't happen, and when it does, well, the reason for tonight's little get-together.
Can I use where the shroud bends here to see how thick the local shroud is?
You may. Is that the ritual, or is that a discipline?
That's discipline. That's my oblivion too.
Excellent. Fire away when you're ready.
It's around... Actually, it's a rouse check to start it, then it's the roll is well, these 3. Okay, apparently I cannot get a reading on the local shroud.
Oh, my dear boy, that is entirely another matter altogether. Tapping into the strength of the beast with your usual deathly pallor, even covered and obfuscated and obscured as it is, there is the emanation of a very hungry growl that escapes as your eyes, already looking cloudy and roomy and having a hue that is just off from what normal folks would believe is humanly possible, just a hair too dead would be an apt description. They go completely dead as your beast rises to the fore. There's a small uptick in the natural monstrousness and the aura around you. Those sensitive enough or paying any due attention would easily notice the prowling and stalking of your beast closer to the surface. And to make matters worse, as your beast crawls closer to the surface, you realize very much that Rodriguez, as per his tossed off answer, was not lying. There is so much force and power of otherworldly energies bouncing off the very walls, ceilings, and every particle of the air around you, that it is impenetrably bright, peering into the essence of the anti-life that is oblivion. You have night vision goggles on and someone shined a 1,000-watt flashlight in your face, is what it feels like.
Oh, I'll probably not do that again for a minute.
Are you okay, Miss Cambridge?
I believe so.
Belief is important, but factor is more so. Right this way. Leading you all through the back room, the back space, you realize that basements are rare. It was a sign of wealth that Miss Cambridge grew up with. But for the average denizen of the Bethany area, much like in parts of the Mississippi coastal area, and just like in New Orleans and just like in Baton Rouge, basements are not worth the trouble that they bring. It's a sign of unnecessary expenditures, and to have one that's well done is, well, even more expensive. But instead of it being a basement, the floor itself gently slopes lower and lower at the further into the building you go. So what is from the outside only a 2-story warehouse styled building is actually a 4-story fortress of mystical energy. It is the center of the local regional chantry. It is also one of the many places where the kindred in the area meet for intelligence briefings, which is basically what this is, because as you all move further and further into the building, lower and lower into the underworld that is this space, Regent Wolvern, gently smiling as Mr. Connor whispers this or that under his breath into her ear. And you're not sure whether she's humoring him or egging him on. But yet, lo and behold, there they are, sitting at what amounts to is an end table just off of the center, large picnic-styled Viking-esque long table that has served as the center of the Bethany tower. At one end of the tower is the prince herself, looking as always bored and frustrated with the administration of herding the cats that are the kindred community. To her right is Sheriff Pierre Valentin himself, his luxuriously permed and slightly wavy hair picked out into a natural that's easily 4 to 5 inches, his well-coiffed and well-manicured beard and mustache, and the unnerving jewel-like kaleidoscopic aspect of his hazel green eyes underneath all of that cafe au lait skin. And he knows that you all are the only non-regional business owners. There's Miss Jimenez, the local everything, business ties to Shreveport. There's Michael, who is undisputably the most gifted kindred when it comes to makeups and cosmetics and the idea of classical beauty. So good of you to arrive, says Miss Wolverine as she stands and rises and moves to each of you, extending her hand.
Good to see you, yes.
Maddie will shake her hand.
And Miss Love, it is lovely to have you all here. I do apologize about all of the theatricality. My attaché Connor is, well, a man of certain vision. Prince, if I might. And she looks towards the prince, Miss Garcia, who just simply nods her head and gets back to making note of one thing or another. Well, ladies, it is unfortunately your turn for sentry duty, and we have a special request. I'm sure you all are aware that from time to time we are beset by outsiders that we cannot easily shoo along. Outsiders that threaten our every night well-being. Unfortunately, very rarely, and unfortunately far too often, one of those such outsiders and interlopers is the Shackleton freak show circus event Carnival. And yes, it is quite a mouthful, but it should be, because as far as we are aware, the Shackletons are neither kindred nor kind. This particular carnival has been run out of our area roughly 8 times in the past 100 years. And yet, every time we attempt to politely usher them on, they return with fury and vengeance. Calamity occurs in their wake every time they are forced along. So, to assist with removing the potential threat of what happens in their wake, we would like you 3 to investigate the property to ensure that Shackleton is not in fact being ushered on by some mad Ancilla, is not being helmed by some potential lupine. We want you all to find a reason for the local authorities to be responsible for driving them on, to deter them from making it closer to Shreveport. And unfortunately, as per our rituals and our plans, it is in fact your duty. It is your cycle to peek an eye and an ear into the defense of Bethany and Shreveport. Do we have any questions?
You said you don't believe they're kindred or kind, but what do you believe they are?
Besides problems?
Yes.
We aren't sure. And try though we might to scry upon them, there has been a surprising lack of information being gleaned. They are right at this moment settling in and setting up, or at least that's what we believed. Unfortunately, one of the forward scouts we sent into the area where they are amassing has proven that they are in fact more than setting up. They are in fact ready for business. There's no way that they should have been able to ease past DeBerry to get here without drawing attention. We should have known. All of our forward scouts in DeBerry, in Carthage, in Fat Bottom Palms saw neither hide nor hair of them, yet they are setting up right now on the grounds of the Strickland Springs Cemetery. They managed to make it through all of our sentries. They did not pass through Jonesville. They did not pass through Wascom. They did not pass through Elysian Fields. Yet here they are, and they are already operational.
Book of Nod speaks of the wild-blooded and spirits of the earth that roamed in ancient times.
No. We are hoping that they are not in fact something unaccountable for. That's the reason why we're hoping for subtlety. We're hoping that we find something that might point the local authorities in their direction. Something that will have the kind pursuing them elsewise, so that when they leave the area, when they are driven on, the usual calamity will not fall upon our shoulders.
Believe we can manage that.
Excellent. I knew you all would. And as she says so, she reaches into her sleeve, adjusting her bangles and banglets around her left arm, and produces 3 stones, 3 volcanic rock stones that are polished, smooth, and shiny. You can almost see yourself in the reflection of them. Would you each take one, please?
I will.
I sure will.
Keep this upon your person at all times until your task of this matter of safety is completed. If you should find yourself in dire straits, remember, it is better to die with honor than to live with failure. At which point, the prince stops her writing. Mary Carlson Garcia is one of the few gangrel prints of the tower. She, unlike most princes, believes in action first. And she shakes her head at that remark from the Regent. What Miss Wolvern means, Regent, Miss Wolvern means, those little doodads, doohickeys that she just gave you, that stupid pocket lint, is so that we can keep a tab on you. If you expire, if you fucking die, that will ensure we are able to retrieve your corpse before anyone finds out that you are one of us. What Miss Wolvern means is that this fucking circus is a goddamn problem. What Miss Wolvern didn't tell you is we knew they were coming a month ago, or at least the fucking Tremere knew they were coming a month ago and lost track of them. So what you do here will be respected and appreciated. If you need fucking help, call the phone tree and we'll get somebody out there to you. Okay?
India
Matt,
very carefully lowers her head but tries to hide a smile because that's her grandsire.
Maddie will give her a wide smile and give Mr. Connor a stink eye, side eye.
And as you all exchange pleasantries and make your way out, if there aren't any further questions, it is 45 after the hour. Let's take a quick 10 and be back at 55 after.
I might use the binding fetter before we leave this shop to see if there's any fetters around.
Welcome back, anybody who's already back.
Hola.
Hola, ¿qué pasa, mi amiga? ¿Cómo está?
Bien.
It's bueno. And yes, while we await for Neon.
Yo.
Excellent. When we stepped away, I did hear you say you wanted to look for a fetter in the local Tremere Chantry. Is that still accurate?
Well, they have. I mean, just if they have it out.
Well, let's tend to this as you guys are walking towards the door, making your way back up and out, in the care, of course, of Mr. Connor, the attaché of Regent Wolver, giving the adult kindred time to speak amongst themselves once more. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus oblivion?
Okay. So that is... What's the difficulty?
As high as you possibly can get. Okay. Well, fate, as is always the case, speaks very loudly when it wishes to be observed. So as you three, the triptych of our newest round of centuries for the Bethany area, having just received the stones from Regent Wolvern, having just been privy to some of the internecine strife between the power players of the Bethany area. While you three are on your way out, your monster, who and what you actually are, underneath all of the facsimile and pretend of being alive and human, comes roaring into clear-cut focus. Would you be so kind? First, let's see how composed you are in this moment. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity athletics DC? You failed by 1. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your dexterity athletics DC 4. Because as you glance and glimpse and peer into the darkness that separates this world from the next, you realize the source of some of the local kindred's power. The Tremere, the Scourge, this chantry, this building, this legacy of all the kindred who have come before you is only the tip of the iceberg. A fetter is what binds the souls that refuse to move on to this world. It is their access point to gain a view of the land of the living. And fetters can be cherished items, hated items, people, places, things, areas. It could be their favorite tree, a locket. It could be things handed down from one hand to the next through an entire family line. Something as small as Grandpa's favorite Zippo. It could be Great Aunt Mabel's pearls. It could be the wallet that was repurposed and handed down when every male of that particular family turns 21. It could be a pair of shoes. It could be a medal of valor. And knowing that it could be any number of things, your eyes are always open, looking for something to indenture the souls of the dead to your own purposes, to bend them to your will, to have a bargaining chip to use in your favor. And much like the river, the creek, the pool of energy that this building uses, the expense in this basement, the expense in this lower level, the expense in building this space was just not one of financial means. It was in fact built with and the souls of countless dead. This entire area during the Civil War, all 4 years of it and the 100 years before and all of the years since, has been a hub for controlling living beings. It has been the hub for the plight of humanity. It has been the center in this area for the stain on the national soul. Many of the homesteads passed down one hand to the next since the founding of the area were in fact not homesteads but plantations. Many of the families, as interspersed as they are now, were and are parcel to the lineage that came from humans being kept as animals, as property, and worse. Many of the families now who have generational wealth passed down because of the plots of land and how well maintained they were all of those generations ago came at the cost of human suffering. And that legacy and those ties that bind, those shackles on those living individuals continued into the afterlife. There are souls bound into the very stones beneath your feet. There are souls tied to the flecks of gems and jewels encrusted in the walls. There are souls bound to Connor's clothing, the items hung about them, the buttons therein, the leather that was in fact at one point on some human's back, are bound to a veritable army of the damned, souls who are unable to move on because of the suffering they lived through. The energy wafting and facilitating in this place is built upon the suffering of the living. It is built upon and infused with all of those souls, and seeing it for what it is, being bombarded with that truth, and the hungry dead the bodiless, hungry, dead all around you is in fact far, far too much. Your beast, your intrusive thoughts raises to the fore to attempt to protect you, to keep what little bit of sanity is possible in the kindred community. And yet it is not enough. Fangs snapping into place, realizing that you are behind enemy lines. Fingers twitching and curling into claw-like facsimiles in prepared fight and flight, because you are 100% behind enemy lines. All of those souls who are forced into being bound here, all of those souls who are unable to move on, merely need an ounce of awareness of them to begin attempting to cross into you, to return to a semblance of life through you, through the ambulatory corpse that you are. While outside of Leah's understanding as to where you all are and what's actually happening, she stumbles. It looks as if she broke a heel, but she's not wearing high heel shoes, and she starts to go down, a snarl of angry invective issuing from her throat. What do you, India and Maddie, do as she begins to fall as if she's being beset or being tackled by the starting line of the Houston Oilers?
How much of this would India feel? She's not typically magically inclined or anything, but like I suppose spirits would cause some of the hairs to raise up on her head.
That is a very good question.
How much of what Lita is experiencing would you feel? Not very much. You all didn't open yourself to that reality that has been always around you. It's another Tuesday for you all. It's Wednesday for you all. You are heading out of here. You're getting out of the lion's den. You are escaping with your skin intact. There's no one holding too much over your head. Simply just go look around, find some reason to bury an entire business under legal troubles, and you're in the clear. You won't be dealing with angry kindred. You won't be dealing with those coyotes out there in the wild. You won't be dealing with the lupines, which you've heard so very much about. So as far as things go, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is about a 5 at the best. Yet Lita takes a pratfall, snarling as if she's being attacked.
Well, if she's actively snarling, I will interpose myself between her and the regent.
I'm giving her a little more space, like stepping back. Cornered animals misbehave badly, so she's giving Lita space. And girl, you alright? You don't look so good.
$5,600, Lita. $5,600. That's what it would take to competently repair your shoes and the scuff in your slacks, as well as to properly clean what you are wearing. The fabrics that now have the physical reminder of all of those souls at play around you. The staining that happens when you meet the ground. $5,600 down the fucking drain because these idiots, and you realize that it's not your voice. It's not your anger. It very much is you, but it's the you that smiles back when you stare into the mirror, contemplating on drowning the world in your pain. Because it has been a pain getting this far. It has. What you've traded for immortality aren't just your looks. It is the ignorance of the world as it is. beset by spirits, monsters, and darkness. Every day, every night, non-stop. And yet, here you are.
I think I'm going to put myself under control at some point.
It was instinctual. It was a moment. It definitely is a moment. But as you slip back into yourself, as you take the reins of your existence back into your full control and agency, $5,600 is a lot. You might as well just burn the outfit. And there is indeed a reminder of what your life was like before it ceased to be, before you had the promise of immortality. And there's Maddie moving to physically interpose herself between you and the dignitaries of the area. And there you are on the ground, your palms touching all of that filthy red dirt. And of course, Wolverine's attaché, Connor, looking as if that's where you belong. It's too on the nose to say that he's staring down his nose at you, because that's exactly what he has been doing this entire time that you've known of his existence. And now you've granted him the physical opportunity to do so. And he is pleased. He is ecstatic. And he hasn't said a word, but there it is, that small smirk and quirk of the lips. As he, far be it from me to care, but are you all right?
Just had a moment there. Sometimes just the old vibes of these places can overwhelm a person.
Of course, I understand. You female sorts have a delicate constitution. I'd offer to help you up, but I wouldn't want to be misogynistic. I'm sure you can find your way to your feet so we can get you all about where you need to be doing.
Yes, Judy.
I'm surprised you understand what that means. Right this way, please. And speaking of duty, speaking of responsibility, the debt that you all pay for the promise of immortality, here on the edge of Shreveport's furthest extreme, moments earlier, to be exact, roughly 25 moments earlier, Joji, when the sun set and your answering machine was doing that annoying thing that it does by flashing its light skyward, turning your pitch black resting place into a disco. Upon awakening, what are or would be your evening oblations?
Oblations? You mean my morning ritual?
Yes.
Okay. The first situation would be setting everything up in the house just right within my little apartment. A kind of OCD-induced trance, as even the most minor detail is clear to Joji's eyes, and it's infuriating. If there's something out of place, out of line, if I don't have the right thing in the right spot for whenever I come in, because I get distracted a lot, and if things aren't in my muscle memory positions, I can oftentimes just not interact with them because they just aren't where I remember them being. And then after I've spent the long, arduous hour and 45 minutes just making sure that the house is in line, just check my answering machine. before heading out.
There is a semblance, there's an understanding that if not for bad luck, a lot of people wouldn't have any luck at all. So as you go to hit play on the answer machine, which has seen the rise and fall of capitalism and American exceptionalism of the late 70s and early 80s, the fuel shortages that inspired the boom that occurred with the reliance on fossil fuels from all of the gas fields there just west of you, actually. The tape inside the machine begins to unspool and your doorbell rings incessantly. And in time,
With a kind of
yeah.
with a very extreme kind of wince at the obnoxious, unexpected noise. He'll just angrily turn towards the door.
There's a way that things are done in Bethany that aren't done anywhere else in the world, simply because they can't be. Bethany is a one-of-a-kind institution. It is a repository for those who shouldn't be able to make it in Shreveport, those who didn't make it in Shreveport, and those who don't want to make it in Shreveport. Shreveport is the grand stage for northeastern Louisiana. It is the grand stage for East Texas and southern Arkansas. It is the hub of the universe. And keeping that hub spinning in time to the world around it and safe from it are places like Bethany. There is a way that things are done. One of the ways that things are not done is for you to be disturbed before you've had the opportunity to satiate whatever hunger you might think you have, to finish your evening ablations of writing, not just your apartment, but your store. There's a way that things are done. You are, even being the quote-unquote new person in town, there's a way that things are done. And this is not it by any stretch of the imagination. And to add insult to all of that injury of throwing your night off, of throwing things into disarray, to adding to the failure of the reliable, as your engine machine unspools and you turn towards the door and you see a face you were hoping to never see up close and personal. Miguel Ruiz, a former Bethany All-American wide receiver. Miguel Ruiz, who, even with all of the luck of the Angels on his side, with all of the physical gifts that should have had him playing for the NFL, wound up dead. Miguel Ruiz, for whom he has made it his personal mission to see you fail as publicly, as often as possible. Miguel Ruiz, who, for all of his attempts to ruin your good name, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, is a good, upstanding fellow. He is the exemplary ideal of what a upwardly mobile member of the Clan of the Rose is. Always immaculate, always well-dressed, always polite and charming, always, except for when you two are alone. Except for when you have the opportunity of looking into those deep chocolate brown eyes and seeing all of the hate and enmity there for your very eternal, immortal existence. And he's standing there in his lambskin jacket with his $5,000 t-shirt, with his handcrafted boots and jeans that cost more than most vehicles in the area. And let's not forget that 3-carat diamond in his right ear, and that horribly incensing smirk on his lips. And he rings your doorbell incessantly. And now if he just held it, it would be one long single note, which is annoying, but less annoying than the fact that he's purposely interrupting that one long note so that it purposefully tickles the most annoying part of the brain when hearing it. And just when you get accustomed to the rhythm, he holds it longer.
Despite how little I want to interact with this man, there is a grand disparity between how little I want to interact with him and how little I wish for this to continue. So I'll just kind of very slowly open the door just a crack and look him, in the face. But how may I help you?
I don't think you can, but somebody put a bug in somebody's ear. You're up. Where's your butt buddy Aoki?
I'm not entirely sure. He just goes out and about.
Yeah, well, guess what? It's that time.
Okay. What do you mean that time?
The fucking circus. You're not paying attention to anything that I'm saying? They were right about you.
I'm so... honestly, I feel like I'll just pick up more details along the way than I will listening to you, because
you don't listen.
Things that come out of your mouth.
If you only knew what went in my mouth. Here, this is for you. And he extends his gloved hand. And he doesn't wear gloves. He always takes pride in his nails being perfectly manicured and lightly polished. He takes pride in his physical appearance. Save when you two are alone, he acts as if you are a leopard and you are contagious. The last time he showed up at your place, he was wearing a full-fledged mask and goggle as if you would splatter all over him.
Grabbing a washcloth from the side, he'll just kind of reach out and grab the package with it, giving equal treatment to Miguel's disrespect, and just kind of, is that all?
Probably. Wait. Yeah, I think that's all you can understand.
Okay. Hey, you got a bit of a stain there on your collar if you want to take care of that.
Would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your manipulation and subterfuge? Contestant.
Oh, it's terrible. It's horrid. But you know what? I'm feeling froggy. Let's get it. What, brother? Just rouse, bro. There we go. Fuck it. That's a good sign for tonight. Boo, boo, boo.
It is a great sign for
That's a great sign for tonight.
Excuse me. And what does Mr. Rodriguez say?
Holy shit!
No.
I mean, he knows I'm lying, but fuck, is that a messy?
When you say there's a stain on his collar, the sneer of disdain that drops across his face is enough to cause even your already dead blood to freeze. And he takes a step forward, and you are sure that a punch, a gunshot, a stab, a vicious attack of some sort is in the offing, his fangs snapping into place. Don't fucking waste my time. Your cousin will die if you keep fucking being childish. Take the fact that you lost everything.
Kind of gingerly sets the package aside before looking back at this feral entity. I'm sorry, but if you touch my cousin, you'll lose more than just your childer.
That is on the grand scale of things that are the absolute worst to possibly say. While the threat against a family member is right up there, probably like number 3. because a threat's only as good as the person willing to follow through with it. Your reply and remark, instead of incensing him to the point where he kicks open your door, does the opposite. There's a moistening at the corner of his eye. There is a trembling of the lips that is both rage and actual loss. Kindred don't feel. It's the memory of emotions that runs through them. As they age, less and less of that memory is able to be acted on. Less and less of that muscle memory is there. And the fact that you were able to wound him to the core that quickly, that directly, says a lot. His fangs still in place, the moisture in his eye. He reaches forward, slowly, gingerly, as if lost in a dream, and just pulls your door closed.
And as the door closes, there's just this shuddering as the moment of courage that it was required is past, and now Joji can, on the other side of this sealed facet, within his sphere of protection, or at least as he believes it to be, can just shakily reach up and slide the deadbolt shut.
The package is simple. Far too simple for the average. It's your turn. It is your turn and several others. There's a volcanic stone inside. As you turn it over and feel how polished and how well shaped it is, there's a small semblance of warmth to it. The white mixed in with this volcanic rock makes it look as if those cracks and crevices that are polished completely smooth are lightning touched. It's what looks like when you've seen trees and people struck by lightning sprawled throughout this completely black absence of light stone. You, in your short time, have managed to make just enough allies elsewhere in the world, specifically with Coleman, to have people who speak for you to keep you dead enough that Miguel can't act on any of those things he would much rather do. You know that one night, eventually, Coleman won't be able to speak for you. You know one night, if you don't garner enough political and social support, that Miguel will have his way with you. And you are sure that it will not be anything quick or fast about it. You dread the moment being given into his actual care. The only thing keeping him from finding you one night alone is Coleman and the twins. If they lose any political standing and you don't get any political standing, it is over for you. Luckily, his job protecting the Harpy of Shreveport means that there's very little time for him to act on what he would much rather do to you. And so when it's your time, as it is now, to attend to the boundaries of Bethany, to act in a security and watchful manner for the domain, you do your absolute best to exceed at doing so. Because any failure, you are sure he will attempt to capitalize on. Any failure which would weaken Coleman and the twins' standing, you are sure that he will make sure everyone knows was your fault, was your responsibility, was your doing. And so as the direction, care of Coleman's careful, almost blocky script in the letter is heeded with all due importance. There is a carnival, as per the 3 to 4 times a year they make their way through Bethany, that is setting up within the domain of Bethany, which will draw visitors from as far away as Carthage and Shreveport and Wascom into the area. The more people that come into the one-horse town that is Bethany, the greater the scrutiny. Also, the hangers-on that will come with that crowd of people could in fact end up being a threat to the masquerade. And so, as per your duty, you all rotate. Like, all of the kindred in Bethany rotate who's up to bat, who's responsible. And unfortunately for you, you are up to bat.
Yeah. So, just kind of mindlessly turning the stone over in his hand and considering what he's got to do tonight, what his duties are. He'll just take a few steps back into his private space and open a locked cabinet, collect a jar of chloroform from it and slip it into his coat pocket. Grab a rag in case he's got to move anybody out quietly that ain't of the blood, and head out. Make a and this is a symbol that the entire coterie is being called up to bat, correct?
Yes, you guys are, according to the letter, they're being set, according to Coleman, in his inimitable way, as he writes, and you can hear his voice. Joji, it's that time again. Unfortunately, the Tremere have dropped the ball, and there's some people doing things that they shouldn't be doing. We want the local police to make sure that they can't do that no more. Get on out to Strickland, the cemetery grounds, and find someone doing something that we can report to the police. Now, snitches get stitches, and we hoping to pass those along so they move on without causing too much trouble. You reckon you can accomplish that?
With a nod to himself as a plan begins to formulate, he'll, dial up India if she's got her phone on her. If she has a phone.
Dialing India, you get her answer machine. Not only do you get her answer machine, but as the beep clicks over for you to leave a message. Hello, Mr. Rodriguez, I told you, I'll tell her when she gets up.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Oh, hello? Oh, I'm sorry, hang on one second. Love Family Ranch? Bright Lover Family Ranch. Who is this?
A friend of India's. Is she in right now?
Maybe. Who are you?
Henry? This is Henry Altman.
I don't know you. She don't know you. I'll pass the message.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I got work to do. What do you want?
Nothing, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Bye. Clicks the phone. And then just with a heaving hopes to God that she's got a similar letter, and then heads out his way towards the carnival.
Speaking of heading out, as we move back into the chantry space, moments later, moments that have petered away, and information exchange, and the understanding of what Bethany was built upon. As Mr. Connor, as Attaché Connor opens the door out into the thriftway, is there any information exchange? Is there any conversation? Is there any plan devised for how you all are getting out to Strickland?
Easiest bet would be to all go in one car so we can discuss how we want to do this. I'm not, like I said, one of those magical sorts. I'm good at hunting, though. Sure, we're gonna have to be real low-key about all this. If y'all have any thoughts, again, that would be the good time to discuss such things. So who call we take? The other cars can obviously, I guess, be left here. Or, I mean, whatever y'all want to do, but I feel like we should all take the same car.
That's fine. I don't think mine will fit everybody, though, so I'll ride with somebody else.
I do agree with that. However, I got a truck.
And alright, girl, we guess we can take your truck. I mean, I don't want to put too many miles on mine. You know how nosy people here are. Take it into the damn mechanic. He's
Yes,
checking all my numbers.
Eat. My sports car doesn't really. Yeah.
As you all are standing in the doorway of the chantry talking, you're in the store itself, the public-facing part of the store, which is not a problem because everyone keeps themselves for the most part, but it does allow you a view of the parking lot. It allows you a view of 79 right out front where everyone, the main street of the town is. And the problem with that is while being aware, being forewarned is being forearmed, as you all are discussing how to get where you need to get to, you see that the congregation of hoodlums that are the local motorcycles club run by the Hutchinsons are looking and peering at the cage that is the sports car that Lita drove in. It is a vehicle that draws the eye, it draws the attention, and even the Hutchinsons, who couldn't tell you the price of a bag of rice, are impressed by all of that ostentatious wealth on display. One of them is leaning down and looking inside the driver's window, his hand resting on the top of the car. You can feel the grease and sweat from where you stand that he's soaking into the hood of the vehicle. And watches a few of his cohorts are laughing and chuckling, one of them pointing at the license plate, the other one, actually full-fledged kicking the tires with the toe of his boot.
Mm-hmm.
You can smell the alcohol sticking to their skin and their clothes, and you feel dirty looking at them. All of that luxuriously dirt road and life encrusted hair soaked in with the grease of their exertions for the evening. Seems as if they had come into town to come into the center of town to go to the quick stop, partially because the owner of Lick Skillet, the local liquor store right there across the state line road, doesn't serve them because every time they have even the merest whiff of alcohol, they do something stupid.
Well, I suppose that's an argument for not sticking out.
I suppose.
I guess we better go rescue your car.
Suppose so. And Maddie will walk out.
I thought they didn't make V12s anymore. This foreign piece of shit got 12 valves on it. And you hear that from the far side of the car as one of them actually has his cheek pressed against the ground, looking up underneath the chassis of the car. Oh shit! That they got a whole look, this line right here. Boy, get your face above the dirt.
Oh, honey. Why are you doing that? It's the ground.
Yeah, I have worse things on my face. Speaking of which, hey, how you doing?
Good,
Idiot,
how are you boys?
look at her hair. She's a cousin. She ain't no cousin. I don't know her. You damn fool.
I'm hurt. Woodson? Or Woodburn?
Oh, hey, cuz. And it is literally like watching a dam burst. All of the machismo and testosterone that was immediately ramping up to begin catcalling or worse turns into raucous big brother, older uncle. Oh, hey, little cuz. And they start crawling and clamoring around you, closing off nearly every exit as these huge prison muscled bodies sweating out every ounce of alcohol almost immediately closes down around you. It's a wall of flesh and smelling of used oil and whiskey closing in and drawing closer and closer. And while normally that'd be offensive in every facet, your beast realizes that underneath all of those overgrown, pumped up muscles is the stuff of life. All of that closeness crowding in for you, too close to run away should you decide to act on what's in your heart. Hey, you Woodburn's daughter. No, that's Woodburn's niece. Oh, that Woodburn. And they're patting each other on the back and clamoring to get their hand in your hand and pull you in for a one-armed hug, which would leave you smelling like a very left-taking right stick. And mums not being the word, it is a wall of flesh and activity.
Now y'all are not good. It's good that I like you. Cause the lady that owns his car, she's a right bitch.
Well, you had to be a bitch. Look at that. This is a foreign piece of shit. And one of them actually uses the back of his boot to kick the tire. It rattles even. I'd be lucky if I could even... And they go on about how it'll probably fall apart in a quarter mile, or how much is expensive to fix it.
And that is why we have sensible vehicles for the area, right? Now let's move along. I know there's the reunion next month? Is that next month, or is it the month after, around Christmas? I don't remember.
Yeah, it's a bonfire tonight. We're going to be out near the circus just came in. Yeah, this motherfucker was there. And they go on and on. And in their exchange, you hear that something you should never hear. The circus is employing Hutchinsons as security.
Well, maybe I'll see you out there. I was thinking about going out there. I heard it was back in town. Didn't they get run off a couple of years ago?
No, that's the other one. This ain't the Straits Corn. This is the Strappleheron. Boy, that ain't the damn name. It don't really matter who they are. They're just paying, and they don't mind us drinking up all they hooch. And round they talk. And each time someone says something, someone else has to say something even dumber, louder. And
oh, boys, I've missed family. But you guys better get on to work now. If you're going to get, more alcohol, because I know the place down the road ain't going to sell you none.
Oh, no, not at all. Uncle Norbert's over there getting at the quick stop. We just rode in with him.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Y'all get on to work after he's done, and I'll bring some of my lady friends over to the circus, and we can all get together and hang out.
Ooh-wee. And would you be so kind as to tell me what is your total of your manipulation and either subterfuge or persuasion?
Oh, ha 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 ha. Like, barely anything. Let's see. I have... You said manipulation?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a grand total of 1.
Ooh. You glossed over it and you moved past it because they're outdoing each other. They're in constant competition with each other. It's a race to the bottom, and anyone can come in first. Norbit Hutchinson, Uncle Norbit. While Morbit is the leader of the clan, he is the most experienced and probably the deadliest because he moves with intention. Norbit by far is the feistiest. He's the middle uncle. He's the perpetual middle child between the triplets. And where he goes, people disappear. The last person who crossed him even incidentally was left by the road with half their face missing. They were too afraid to point a finger or insinuation at the Hutchinsons. It just so happened that Norbit went out drinking that weekend and let the beans spill to impress the waitress. And that's how everyone knew what happened. Norbit of the three twins is the only one who's only served 5 years in actual prison. He is smart enough and dangerous enough to leave victims alive. Norbit being in town to pick up alcohol means that he is ramping them up for something. He is purposely manipulating his younger cousins and kin, getting them liquored and amped for something. And as you attempt to get them to back off the car, it doesn't take much to attract his attention, to get his ire, to start a plan that will take days or weeks to reach fruition, and for someone and something to be, well, pained. India, having gone to school with some of the Hutchinsons, seeing so many of the extended cousins and kin in one place takes you back to grade school, where even then there was a heavy reliance on getting to Valhalla by the dumbest, most violent way possible. They surrounded a kid and began kicking him with their hands. And yes, as silly as it sounds, that's exactly what they did. They took off their shoes and placed them on both hands and kicked a kid with their hands. When the teacher tried to stop them from kicking the kid with their hands, the teacher fell victim to their pack. Lyda, the only thing worse than the Hutchinsons' criminal records is their willingness to add to it. They treat their prison record like a resume, and they do everything they can to pad it. Your father once taught Norbit and promised to never ever engage with a Hutchinson ever again. Norbit, in presenting his reasons for why America was a first world nation, called his left hand the East Coast and his right hand the West Coast, and he punched his debate partner with the full might of the USA. This is why America is great. This is why we will never be. And the kid, who was a local resident, didn't have any heritage stretching outside of the US, dropped out immediately, withdrew and left school that night and never returned.
Yep.
And they're interested in your car. And now they're interested in Maddie. And the sheer amount of tattoos that are visible, let alone hidden behind dingy t-shirts and cut off leather jackets. And no, not neatly cut off, but literally they just took the seams and tore and ripped and turned them into battle vests, could populate the entirety of Los Angeles and Sacramento.
India is very torn between getting closer and helping Maddie and staying the absolute fuck away from grabbing distance of those guys. He's just like,
If you're watching Maddie, she doesn't seem too terribly concerned.
I think I'm going to let Maddie handle this. She seems to have it. Maybe.
Until she mentions that she's going to bring girls out to the circus. Is that them right there? Oh shit, ain't that old boy's sister? Oh yeah, I went to school with him. Real fucking American hero he was. Hey there, Miss Love. Oh my god, looks like we're gonna be able to do a cold one too. Look at her, all dressed up with a mask on. Where you going to, hospital, dear? You know, we don't mind getting down with the freaks, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I like that.
Maddie's just gonna reach up and pat one of them on the shoulders like, well, seems like we have our plans then. We'll see you, what, like 2 or 3 hours?
Oh no, y'all can ride down with us. Come on, get on, ride on, bitch. I ain't riding, bitch. I'm gonna drive. No, you're gonna ride. And they literally start shoving each other to prove who's gonna ride with whom. And as they get completely
Well,
out
honey,
of hand.
honey, cause I need to get him freshened up.
No, that.
She wants to wear that kind of makeup out there to the circus.
And Lorbit speaks. I don't really think it matters. A little flavor never hurt nobody. You boys, you bringing them with, or you dragging them along? Which one is it gonna be? We gotta get back out there. Oh, hey, Uncle Lorbit. Hey, this is Cousin Matty from Woodburn's boy. And just like that, they're off to the races, scrambling and talking over each other again in a competition and a race to the bottom to make introductions.
nope. When they're all talking, India leans close to Maddie. Maybe we should just get in the car now.
Come on, I'll be there in a moment. You gotta say hi to Uncle. And she will walk on over to the uncle.
Again, while excuse me, while Morbid is by far the deadliest of the triplets, Norbit is the middle child who should not be crossed, because just in the sheer competition and raucousness of these ne'er-do-wells and soon to be America's most wanted members of the Hutchinson family, as they get louder and louder and begin to crowd his space, he lashes out with the 24-ounce can of beer in his hand, catching one of them in the throat, sending him to his knees. And calm yourself. You can't handle your shit, you ain't gonna get no more. Now, what the fuck is going on? Are they coming with or we dragging them along? You're Woodburn's daughter?
Sure am.
We got some work for you. There's a couple of tents that need tending to. These folks ain't really take care of their shit. How much you charge? And as he says how much you charge, he steps closer with the 24-ounce can in his hand. It is clear that while Morbid is in fact the deadliest, that Norbit could easily compete with that if he so wanted, but instead he takes pleasure in every ounce of pain, and you can't hurt the dead. How much you gonna charge?
At this time of night, let's call it double time. 40 an hour.
40 an hour. You best take less than that. Come on.
Let me grab the girls. She'll jerk her head to the girls, have them come on over.
India leans next to Ligda. Did she just tell us?
I think we're past worrying about that sort of thing. Well, hopefully.
India knows she can pretty much handle herself. I don't think she has her guns on her tonight, even though it's usually with concealed carry, but all else fails, she turns into what she turns into and can handle it. So she shrugs and steps up, gives them her prettiest smile.
Who's riding with who? We gotta go. He calls out and moves towards a monster of a rat bike. It's literally the worst thing you can possibly see heading in your direction. It's held together with far too much ingenuity and far too much hate. If it runs into something short of a tank, you are sure that whatever it runs into will no longer be whole or in one piece afterwards. And as he swings his massive leg up and over and on, he nods to the others who are immediately ignoring their choking cousin who still hasn't caught his breath and rush to start hopping on and point. You can ride with me? No, she can ride with me. It don't fucking matter who she rides with. Just fucking get on. Let's go.
I think I'll ride with you on your pretty spot machine.
Mm-hmm.
You got tools there, right?
It's a circus. They travel with tools.
It doesn't mean they're good ones.
Any hole in the dark, cuz any hole in the dark.
Well, let's get on.
India will just pick a random biker because they're all the same smelly, sweaty. It don't matter. So she walks up behind him, tips her hat, and then climbs over the side.
Hell nah, hang on to your shit. I got the fat. You ain't got shit. Shut up. And just like that, the snarling of the oldest, most grizzled, experienced wolf quiets all the pups. All of their raucous machismo dissipating. And then the bikes start up. And it feels like you guys are in the middle of a pack of wolves. Each of the bikes, hand-tuned and adjusted, is not only loud, but you feel the power vibrating from the motor. It feels as if you are on top of some monstrous, ancient, dire beast. Too large to live, too stubborn to die. and then they're off. And there's the old aphorism of driving like a bat out of hell. And somehow, even that image doesn't quite sum up how they take off with a start. How they immediately go from 0 to 2 fucking fast in the blink of an eye. And they ride like not only there is no tomorrow, that they can outrun the devil and all of his angels in one fell swoop. And as they tear past the Pinole County Sheriff's Department, an uneasy feeling settles. Because normally, the car would have lit up and took off after one of them, or at least winnowed one of them out of the pack and took one of them down. But instead, the lights remain off. The car remains unmoved, and the Hutchinsons tear through the dark of night. While you all race through the countryside, heading towards the cemetery grounds where the circus is setting up. Joji, carnivals suck. The reason why carnivals suck for Bethany, not only do they bring undue attention, but there's a chaotic beauty to them. The lights of their midway, the constant barkers, the attention, the energy. It's a swirling mess. It's like a painting brought to life, like the act of creating art every second, all of its own volition. The people, the laughter, the tears, the screams of terror from the Ferris wheel or the tilt-a-whirl, or people cheering themselves on as they lose more and more money at one of the games. It is the scent of youthful indulgence. It's the scent of a summer morning, the sun rising just beyond the horizon line, the birds singing, and the world in perfect chaotic order with itself. It is a fucking mess. Some of them more poetic than others, some of them wilder and more frenetic than others. It is a place where if you are not carefully in control of your beast, it will easily consume you. It's too easy to step between a tent or behind a game with someone in tow and experience a few moments of that hot life. All of their excitement and joy and sadness swirling together into a soup that would take you along an epic adventure in a matter of seconds. Being able to taste all of that excitement, all of that fear, all of that life, filled with sugar and alcohol and starchy foods, fried deep enough and dark enough that even their blood feels as if it's artery clogging. It sucks, because you have to be on your best behavior whenever you go to the circus that comes through. You have to be careful to make sure it's not someone who's local, and also make sure it's not someone who someone would miss. All of the effort to properly hunt in a place that teases you to do just that, it's its own form of hell.
Wonderful. It's like tossing a wolf into the sheep enclosure and telling him no.
Yep, very much that. And as you get closer, taking it that you take the back alleys up and around. You don't take 79 up and take Don Long down and towards the cemetery, or do you?
Or do I?
Well, yeah, 79 could take you all the way up to 20, and then you can circle back down around 26, 25, and then make that left right on into the cemetery grounds. Strickland, like most of the cemeteries in the area, are either built on or not far from an actual church. In this particular case, the Strickland Springs Cemetery is literally down the road from Strickland Springs Baptist Church. One of the funny things that no one's ever quite figured out about the area is, why are there so many fucking churches? There are more churches per capita in the domain of Bethany than the entirety of Shreveport, than the entirety of Carthage. You wouldn't be too far off the bat saying that there are more churches in the Bethany domain than there are in both places combined. There's Long Ridge, and there's Strickland, there's Mount Pleasant, there's the McKay Hendricks Church, there's the Episcopal Church there at Shady Grove, there's the Squirrel Camp non-denominational agnostic church, there's the Elysian Fields Baptist Church, there's Mount Zion, there's the Crossroads. It is literally, you could throw a rock in any direction and hit at least 2 different churches. Almost as if it's a network, a net of, you're not sure what. But when you're in your paranoid moments and making wild leaps of fancy, it's one of the things that often crosses your mind. During your living days, you didn't think too much of it. There's churches. But you've seen kindred lose their shit when approaching certain churches. You've seen kindred lose their way in the dark when getting near certain cemeteries, certain graveyards. Hell, you were hunting closer when you first moved back into the area, and you came across Daly Creek just southwest of town, and you're not sure how, but you found yourself 5 miles further west than you intended. You just kept walking as if something was calling you, drawing you, eating up all fractions of time. And yet here you are. How are you going to get to Strickland?
Yeah, I'm getting a strong impression that maybe avoiding that is a good idea.
It's a great idea. So how are you getting to Strickland? Are you going to take the Strickland Springs Road up and around the back way? Or are you going to take the fast, easy way to get there, which is, head down 79, up to 25, down 26, 25, right past the church. Right.
No, fuck that. We're taking the Strickland Springs Road. I'm looking at it on the map right now. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just avoid... Wait a second. Doesn't this run me right past a fucking cemetery?
Yes, and you remember that as you're making the right off of Old Town Road onto Strickland.
Ruh-roh.
As you merge off of Old Town onto 1205, and you're moving past the farms out there in the distance. You can see them in the night because, unlike most places, the roads out here don't have as many street lamps. So all of the light, all of the activity in the houses just off the road are visible from the road. Even moving along at a perfectly legal, healthy clip of 55 miles an hour. You can see all the activity in the farmhouses and the plantations and the ranches as you make that right. And while for you, having grown up in the area, this is a hub of activity. Truth be told, in the distance that you've driven, you have only seen less than 1/10 the population per capita that the average driver in Shreveport sees on a daily basis. For you, this is downright claustrophobic. You've passed 17 houses, and there's more going up in the distance. You've passed 5 actual ranch estates. There's just too many people moving into the area. Pretty soon you're going to have your own middle-class intelligentsia moving in, like those folks southeast of town out there in that gated community. living right next to each other. No land between the houses. City's getting closer and closer day by day. Fuck, there's 18. You've passed 18 plots of land with homes on them. And the road's just eating itself up as you move along Spring Road and you get to that fork in the road. Now, do you remember whether you need to take Strickland Springs north or do you follow it on to your right?
Let's see. I may have misheard it. Where's the specific destination of this circus?
Strickland Springs Cemetery Grounds.
Strickland Springs Cemetery Grounds. Yay.
So as you're there at Strickland Springs, 1205, you can either go left or right at the crossroads. At the fork.
Okay.
It's a fork, actually, but you can go left or right. You remember which one you're supposed to take?
I'm thinking left might be my direction here. I believe right takes me up towards the Baptist church, right?
And there it is. You've been on these roads longer than most people have had their licenses. Most of the people are driving tonight and in and around and coming in from Shreveport and coming north from Carthage have not been driving in this area anywhere near the length of time that you've been in the area, off and on, your time away and your time back. Yet here you are at a common fork in the road and you kind of lost your way. It takes you a second to realize you need to make that left and take 1205 all around. But there it is. There's the problem. There's magic out here in the dark. There's other energy.
Those fucking fairies that I don't know exist.
And with the circus
My bad.
and all of its liveliness occupying the entire southwestern grounds of the Strickland property, because that's really what the road is. The Strickland Springs Road was named after the church, just like Bethany was named after its founding church. And all of this space, all of this great big space between the ponds and the lakes and the creeks technically belong to the founders of the Strickland Springs Church. And you see it bursting out of the night sky like a comet. The lights from the Ferris wheel, from the tilt-a-whirl, the sound of people enjoying life begins to reach you even through the windows of your vehicle. You can feel yourself getting amped up and you get close because most of the people that you're going to see aren't from the area. Most of the people that you see aren't from Bethany, aren't from Wascom. Most of the people that you see would be careless and think that everything's as hunky-dory as possible. They just go on with living their lives without realizing that you and those like you are in their midst. You could easily make someone disappear. You don't mean to be salivating, but that's what comes to mind. The moistening in preparation for consuming mass quantities. And as you round the bend there at Strickland Springs Road and you cross the invisible threshold onto actual church property, the trees opening up to reveal circus tent after circus tent after circus tent after circus tent. Most of the carnivals and traveling midways that make their way through the area, they're small affairs, 5 tents at the most, 8 vehicles at the most. But as you reach the edge of the road and you see what lay out there ahead of you, they've taken up the entire southwestern portion of the Strickland property. There are easily 12 to 20 tents of varying sizes. There are easily at least 35, 40 vehicles, not counting all of the people, the tourists who are parking across the street, ruining the paddock there, filling the space. They're literally taking their lives in their own hands because there aren't any lights outside of the carnival. There aren't any street lights on Strickland Springs Road in this area. So you're literally running through the dark to get to the light of the carnival. So any car, any vehicle moving along the road at any clip is putting everyone's life at jeopardy, and no one seems to notice or care at the risk. Normally there'd be a sheriff's patrol sitting in the road to make sure that everyone made it along safely. Normally there'd be several individuals from the local municipality from either Panola County or the Caddo Parish there to make sure that this was in fact a safe environment. But there's not. There's no sheriff's patrol car. There's no county, parish patrol car. There is the Hutchinson seal, an orange wolf on a blue background. The orange is supposed to be red, but it's been washed several hundred times to the point where they don't even try to make it red anymore. It's just a bright orange wolf's head on a blue background. You see several Hutchinson cousins moving back and forth, some of them holding those huge mag lights that double as clubs in a pinch, openly drinking. One is holding an actual 40 ounce as he checks some teenager's ID in the other hand. You see that shock of red hair moving between the crowd, making a way for one of the clowns to get through to wherever they're going. As you slow and decide on whether you're going to pull to off the road where everyone else is parking or find other allotment for your vehicle, you see the Hutchinsons on premises acting in some capacity that is unsettling. Hutchinsons wouldn't know an honest day's work if it beat them over the head. Yet here they are.
There's very much this moment of just, oh fuck, not now. As he pulls in and he's just going to leave his vehicle with the General Assembly.
So as you pull
Putting it,
go on.
Putting it elsewhere in my mind, like going off and finding somewhere else to put it would just not only make it stand out, but make it a lot easier for the fucking, if they notice him and if they notice his vehicle, for the Hutchinsons to vandalize the fucking thing.
And if things could not get worse, as you exit the vehicle and join a crowd of folks who are getting ready to make their way across the street, you hear it, and your already dead blood freezes. Your already unmoving, non-circulating vitae stops. Your ears perk up. Without any active effort on your part, your head turns down the road as you hear the very earth itself crying out in pain as the sound of massively overcharged sport motorcycle engines eat up the entirety of the night. The carnival seems calm by comparison as you hear just a slew of high-revved engines moving at a quick pace in your general direction.
You know, cut the car as soon as possible, just kind of duck myself in between all the vehicles, and try and like move as casually and as like non-eye-catchingly as possible, as there's very much the impression that my job tonight may very well end with me getting curb stomped by a bunch of rednecks.
Would you be so kind as to roll your composure?
The direction of the...
Would you be so kind as to roll your composure and stealth? DC 3.
You are rude, nobody. You know what? Let's do this. Risk it for the biscuit. Okay, well. That's a total failure.
Some part of you knows that you can take them. Some part of you knows that you are fucking dead. They can't hurt you anymore. You can take whatever they dish out and return it, provided you get the right opportunity. Provided they don't see you coming, you can they get too costly for them to do anything except for leave you alone permanently. Especially here with all these people, no one ever will point a finger at you. Caught between the drive of your beast to master its environment, to be the apex predator as far as it is concerned, you lose your way. Ducking between vehicles and making a left and making a right and trying to quiet that unending voice of destroy them, stop fleeing, take everything they have from them. Pushing it down, forcing it out of sight, trying to, no, we gotta do the smart, we could just, you find yourself at the edge of the road. You duck behind a van, cut across a truck, and you're putting as much distance between you and the bikes as possible until you realize they never ride by themselves. They never ride by themselves. So if you heard the sound echoing off the trees to your south, it means that, oh fuck, like coming from the north, and you find yourself at the edge of the paddock right next to the road, as you are now several score of feet from the group of tourists who are getting ready to cross the street in front of these bikes to go to the carnival. You, instead of being lost in the middle of the crowd of people, are by yourself at the road's edge as the monstrous Frankenstein-based rat bike that is only owned by one person that you've ever known brave enough to drive such a ridiculously offensive vehicle. Norbert at the head of a pack of Hutchinsons, brown bags of alcohol strapped to various saddlebags are being held in various laps amidst Lita, Maddie, and India riding on the back of several members of the pack, with Maddie arm wrapped tightly around Uncle Norbert as he leads the pack into the paddock where the vehicles are parked. So they literally drive right past you, his head watching and tracking you as if you are food.
Just a kind of very meek wave, like single motion wave as they drive by, as his eyes are kind of on the girls more than Norbit and Lorbit and all them bitches. It's just the thought going through his head is, why? What have I done to deserve this?
Racing through the night under your own power is one thing. Racing through the night with someone who doesn't care about potentially running anything and everyone down with their vehicle is another. And another level beyond that is where you three are, because the Hutchinsons literally drive like they have the key to immortality, as if nothing can hurt them, as if they could literally run through walls. And being as close to them as you all are, you know that their scent very well might be able to, even if their bodies can't. There is a very defined, aggressively masculine stench and sweat to them, mixed and mingled with alcohol and whatever drug they happen to get their hands on top of motor oil and all of the leaking gaskets from various vehicles that they've been a part of over the last month.
Just out of curiosity, since Maddie has basically had her nose pressed to this guy's back for however long they've been driving, she does have Bloodhound.
Nice. Are you trying to figure out what sort of mood they're in by the stench wafting off of them?
Absolutely.
Well, the best way to describe their avarice at potential violence. Now, normally, this is the blood that says that they're willing to fight back. This is the feeling filled with the grip and grasp and choke hold on fighting with one's last breath. Normally, this is the person who would be charging into fire, running across the battlefield for their flag or their country or their religious cause. He's a believer. He is a person that would fight for the things that he holds dear with every breath that he could choke out of his enemies. He is a person that, if he had been or was a member of a special forces group, would be leading the tip of the sword into the enemy. If he believed in anything more than his blood, if he believed in anything more than the Hutchinson legacy, if he believed in anything noble, he'd be what most would consider a hero. As it stands, while he will fight with his all to hang on to life and to defend his beliefs, he doesn't have any belief worth fighting for, save the pain of others.
Very nice.
I just realized, on a side note, this party of guard dogs has a bunch of people with Bloodhound.
This is a good thing.
Especially since we're supposed to be, if I'm remembering correctly, giving the cops a reason to come down here.
Mm-hmm. So as the pack of Hutchinsons, with India, Maddie, and Lita in tow, come tearing down the road, literally skidding to a stop, almost piling up on top of one another. You all see Joji by the road as you go tearing past, nearly running more than a few people over as the bikes swerve wildly into their parking spots, their stopping positions. All of that forward momentum, all of that velocity piling up at the last minute. What do you all say, do, think in this regard? Riding with them is literally like riding with the wild hunt.
Maddie is probably having the time of her life. Or unlife, I guess.
India wouldn't be as bothered by the whole bike thing. She'd be more bothered by the smelly. I mean, because her nose is a little more sensitive, I think, than most. Being that she partially spends time in a different shape. So
Right, it's fine.
she's kind of had her handkerchief up around her nose. But then seeing Joji, she kind of raises an eyebrow and is thankful to see him, but at the same time realizes just how fucked up this whole entire situation is. Seeing all the rest of the Hutchinsons, it's like, fuck.
Indeed.
I think Lita was probably pretty relaxed to a point. He's aware of how durable she is. I don't think she'd enjoy hitting a brick wall, but I think she knows she would survive it.
The kind of resigned contentedness.
Possibly.
No, I forget. Lita, do you have Sense the Unseen?
I do not. I have resilience.
That is, in fact, a shame. Your connection.
I don't like
Your connections with the dead means you feel the prickle of the world around you. Most people see the cosmology of this side of the veil, this side of the skein around the world as the actual real world. Most people see death as the end of the line of life. As a member of the clan of death, as a member of the Lakata, that very skewed philosophy has been educated out of you. The call, the veil, keeping this world from the next, is in and of itself a very living thing. It moves as to the heartbeat of not only this side of the veil, but the other side of the veil as well. And while oftentimes that skein, that veil, is as thick and resolute as the thickest titanium, other times it is as permeable as a sieve. And that prickling awareness, that understanding that life and death are not opposites, but part of one full, eternal, immortal spectrum of existence. An area such as this, where the rivers of energy flow freer, more unbridled, there's a flavor to the air, a subtle perfume. And adding insult to injury, that perfume is mingled with the very real post-pubescent hyperactive glandular disorders of the living. It is filled with all of the cries of excitement of people riding the tilt-a-whirl and the Ferris wheel and throwing balls and losing money and gaining hope and giving along to the excitement, and it is beating against the shields of the kindred, because the thing that keeps the kindred going, the blood of the living, is also the thing that damns them entirely. Being as close as you are to these founts of overactive machismo that are in fact the Hutchinsons, combined with the excitement bombarding the environment around it for miles, is the glowing, active, hyper-electric light of the Carnival, and all the people from Shreveport and Wascom and Elysian Fields and Carthage coming from miles and miles down the road in both directions to find this little piece of magic. And as The bikes pile atop one another, barely running each other over, and the few people who are making their way across the street running as if their lives depend on it, because they in fact do. Without a shadow of a doubt, you all have arrived. And as words bombard the inside of your minds, as emotions begin to swell, because there very much is free food less than 100 feet from where each of you all are, latched onto the back of these death machines. There is free food very much under your fingertips with these overly drugged, overly liquored, overly machismo predators on 2 legs. And you don't have to worry. After all, they're Hutchinsons. Well, they'll avenge each other. Well, they'll fight. Well, they'll kill. Or try to. No one's really going to care if 1 or 2 or 20 of them go missing. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. I look forward to playing with you all next time on the Dark of Bethany. Good night, everybody.
Good night. I'm very happy that I managed to sneak in here.
Yay!